Iconostar Productions presents Socrates, The Final Days, starring Mel Jackson as Socrates and Jay Blake as Crito.
Socrates, just what are you doing in the porch of the King Archon? Surely you're not engaged in a court action.
Impeachment is the word the Athenians use.
I know you wouldn't prosecute another, so someone must be prosecuting you.
Yes.
Who?
A young man who is little known, Crito. And I hardly know him myself. His name is Miletus.
I don't know him, Socrates.
He has a beak and long, straight hair and a beard which is ill-grown.
What's the charge?
A very serious one, which shows a great deal of character in this young man. He said he knows how youth are corrupted and who the corruptors are. I assume that he's a wise man, and seeing that I am anything but wise, he has found me out and is going to accuse me of corrupting his young friends. It is of this our motherless state is to be the judge.
You never corrupted anyone.
Well, he brings a wonderful accusation against me. He said I make new gods and deny the existence of old ones.
That's it. He knows that such a charge as this is readily received, since the world is jealous of novelties in religion. Whenever I speak in the assembly about divine things, they laugh at me as a madman. They're jealous of us all.
Now, their laughter, friend Crito, is rather unimportant. A man may be thought wise, but the Athenians, I suspect, do not really care about this until he begins to make other men wise. Then, for some reason, perhaps from jealousy, as you say, they become angry. I must go now.
Good luck, dear friend.
And to you, Crito. How you dear Athenians have been affected by my accusers I wouldn't know. But they almost made me forget who I was, so persuasively did they speak. But of all the things they said, I was most amazed when they warned you to be upon your guard and not be deceived by my force of eloquence. To say this when they were certain to be detected the minute I opened my mouth and proved myself to be anything but a great speaker was shameless. Unless by force of eloquence they mean the force of truth. For if such is their meaning, I admit that I am eloquent. From me you shall hear the whole truth, and not the written, revised, or wrought-out oration. No, by God, I'll use the words and arguments which occur to me at the moment, for I'm confident in the justice of my cause. First, I'm compelled to address the older charges before the more recent ones, for I fear them most. It was my first accusers who, when you were children, took possession of your minds and told you their falsehoods of Socrates, a wise man, who speculated about the heaven above and the earth below and made the worst appear the better cause. Those who told this tale are the people I dread, for the impressionable youth that you were in those days were apt to embroider this fantasy until accepting as a mere matter of fact that we who inquire about life and the world do not believe in the existence of the gods. And harder for me, of course, is that I do not know the names of my accusers and cannot have them up here with me and cross-examine them, but must fight with shadows in my own defense. People of Athens, you're out there saying, Socrates, please tell us the origin of these accusations against you. You must have been doing something strange, or these rumors about you would never have arisen. Please tell us, for we would be sorry to judge hastily of you. And this is a fair challenge. First off, I confess that my reputation as a wise man with such an evil fame comes about because of a certain sort of wisdom I possess. And I must ask you not to interrupt, regardless of how extravagant this all may sound. It is not I who lay claim to this wisdom, but it was told to me by the god of Delphi. It was many years ago that Sherman, a dear friend of mine and of yours, boldly asked the oracle of Delphi and I beg you not to interrupt, if there was any man wiser than I. And the prophetess replied that no man was wiser. Well, as you know, Sheriffon himself is dead, but his brother, who is in court, will confirm this. So why do I mention this? Because I'm going to explain to you why I have such an evil name. Well, of course, when I heard of this myself, I asked, what can the god mean? For I know I have no wisdom, great or small, yet it would be against the nature of a god to lie. After some consideration, I decided that if I could find a man wiser than myself, I could approach the god with a refutation in hand. Accordingly, I went to one who had the reputation of being wise. I needn't mention his name. He was a politician, and when I began to talk with him, I could not help thinking that he was not really wise, though he was thought wise by many, and still wiser by himself. Whereupon I tried to explain to him that he thought himself wise, but was not really wise, with the consequence that he hated me. And this enmity was shared by several of those present. So I left saying to myself that although neither of us knows anything really beautiful and good, he knows not but thinks he knows, where I know not and I realize I know not. On this I would have said that I have slightly the advantage of him. Then I went to a man with still higher pretensions of being wise, and I found the same thing. Whereupon I made an enemy of him and many who were with him. Then I went from one man to another, from lawyer to doctor, from artisan to professor, even the poets, and I was not unconscious of the enmity which I provoked, and it's been a constant fear for me. But God had spoken, and I said to myself, I must go to all I know and find out what the oracle meant. And I swear to you, Athenians, by Jove I swear, for I must tell you the truth. I found that those in most repute were but the most foolish, and that others you wouldn't think about were really the wiser. Many I approached had knowledge I lacked. But on behalf of the oracle, I asked myself, would I rather be as I was, neither having their knowledge nor their ignorance, or like them in both? I decided I was better off as I was. So this search of mine led to my having many enemies of the most dangerous kind. But I'm called wise, since my hearers always imagined that I myself possessed a wisdom wanting in others. But the truth is, people of Athens, that God only is wise, and by his answer he intends to show that the person is the wisest who, like Socrates, knows that his wisdom is in fact worth nothing. Finally, young men of the richer classes who haven't much to do follow me because they like to hear the pretenders examined, and they often imitate me, seeking out others who believe they are wise, but in fact are not. And as these young men soon discover, there are many such people. But when my followers began to challenge them, the pretenders become angry with me. This confounded Socrates, they say, this villainous misleader of youth. But if someone asks them what evil I practice and teach, they just don't know. But so they won't appear to be at a loss, they repeat the old ready-made charges. Socrates is one who speculates about the heaven above and the earth below and makes the worst appear the better cause. I've said enough on the first class of my accusers. I turn now to the second. And they are headed by Meletus, a good man, a lover of his country, as he calls himself. His charges against me might be stated as follows. Socrates is a doer of evil, who corrupts the youth and who does not believe in the gods of state, but has other divinities of his own. This is the charge. And now let us examine the particular counts. He says that I am a doer of evil and corrupt the youth. But I say, good people of Athens, that Meletus is the doer of evil, in that he pretends to be in earnest when he is only in jest, and is so eager to bring men to trial from a pretended zeal and interest about matters in which he really never has the smallest interest. And the truth of this I will endeavor to prove to you. Stand up then, Miletus. Let us ask a question of you. You think a great deal about the improvement of youth,
Yes, I do.
and tell the judges who their improver is. Speak up, Miletus. Your silence is proof of what I was saying. Do not disgrace yourself this way. Who is their improver?
The laws.
You misunderstand me, good sir. I want to know who the person is. Who in the first place knows the laws?
The judges who are present in court.
You mean the judges are able to instruct and improve the youth?
Certainly they are.
All of them or only some of them?
All of them.
By the goddess Herta. That is good news. There are plenty of improvers then. And what do you say of the audience? Do they improve them?
Yes, they do.
And the senators?
Yes, the senators improve them.
But perhaps the members of the assembly corrupt them? Or do they improve them?
They improve them.
Then every Athenian improves them, and I alone corrupt them.
That is what I stoutly affirm.
I'm very unfortunate if you're right. But happy indeed would be the condition of our youth if they had but one corrupter. And now, Miletus, another question. Which is better, to live among bad citizens or among good ones? Do not the good do their neighbors good, and the bad do them evil?
Certainly.
And there's anyone who would rather be injured than benefit by those he lived with?
Certainly not.
And do you accuse me of corrupting youth intentionally or unintentionally?
Intentionally, of course.
But you have just admitted that good do their neighbors good, and the bad do them evil. Now am I at my age in such darkness and ignorance as to not know that if I corrupt a man I must live with, I will be harmed by him, and yet I continue to corrupt him, and intentionally too. Very well then, Miletus. I would now like to know, in what am I affirmed to corrupt the youth? I suppose you mean, as I infer from your indictment, that I teach them to not acknowledge the gods of the state, but instead some other divinities or spiritual agencies.
That's what I say.
Then by gods, Miletus, of whom we are speaking, do you affirm that I teach men to believe in only some gods, but not those acknowledged by the city, and am therefore not an entire atheist? Or do you mean that I am a complete atheist?
I mean that you are a complete atheist.
What an extraordinary statement. Dear Athenians, I would now like you to join me in examining what I believe to be an inconsistency. Now then, Miletus, did a man ever believe in human things and not of human beings? Did any man ever believe in horsemanship and not in horses? Or in flute playing and not in flute players? Well then, I'll answer for you. There is no one who ever did. Now please answer the next question. Can a person believe in spiritual and divine agencies and not in spirits or demagogues?
He cannot.
You got your voice back. How lucky a day for justice. But my friend, you swear in your indictment that I teach and believe in divine and spiritual agencies, and if this is true, I must then believe in spirits or demagogues, must I not? To be sure I must, and I may assume that your silence gives consent. Now, what are spirits or demagogues? Are they not either gods or prodigies of gods?
Certainly they are.
This, Miletus, is what I call the facetious riddle invented by you. The demagogues or spirits are gods, and you say first that I do not believe in gods, and then again that I do believe in gods. That is, if I believe in demagogues. For if the demagogues are the legitimate sons of gods, what human being will ever believe there are no gods if they believe in the sons of gods? You might as well affirm the existence of mules and deny that of horses and asses. Such nonsense, Miletus, could only have been intended by you to make trial of me. You put this in the indictment because you had nothing real of which to accuse me. And as I had stated earlier, you bring this indictment on behalf of pretended zeal, with no true commitment to your own charges. I have said enough to answer the charge of Miletus, but I know only too well how many are the enmities I have incurred. And this is what will be my destruction, if I am destroyed. Not Miletus, but the envy and distraction of the world, which has been the death of many good men, and will probably be the death of many more. There's no danger in my being the last of them. Some will say, are you not ashamed, Socrates, of a course of life which may bring an untimely death? To this I would answer, a man who is good for anything ought not calculate the chance of living or dying, but only consider whether what he is doing is right or wrong. Oh, Credo, why have you come at this hour?
Well,
It must be quite early. What time is it?
Dawn is breaking.
I'm surprised the guard let you in.
I know him well. Socrates, he owes me one.
You just came in?
No, I came some time ago.
You should have wakened me at once.
You seem so peaceful in your slumber. I let you sleep to minimize your anguish over this calamity.
When a man reaches my age, Credo, he should not fear the approach of death.
But other old men fear death.
True. But why have you come at such an early hour?
I must urge you to take my advice and escape.
Now, Credo,
If you die, Socrates, not only shall I lose a beloved friend who can never be replaced, but many people will believe I was unwilling to bribe the guard to let you escape. They'll think I value money more than the life of a friend.
Why worry about the many? Good people are the only ones whose opinion is worth worrying about, and such good people will understand the truth.
But opinion of the many must be regarded. If not for them, after all, you would not be here now. So you see, such people can do the greatest evil.
I only wish it were so. For if they could do the greatest evil, they could also do the greatest good. But they can do neither, for they cannot make a man wise or foolish. And whatever they do is the result of chance.
I won't dispute that, but tell me, do you refuse to escape for fear that I'll get into trouble?
Yes, Credo. This is one of my fears.
Well, fear not. The informers can be silenced with only a little money.
I've always been one who must be guided by reason, so I ask you, what is to be chiefly valued, life or a good life?
A good life, Socrates.
Then on this basis, let's discuss whether I should escape or not. Tell me, is doing wrong always evil and dishonest?
Yes.
Then we must do no wrong?
Certainly not.
And if we are injured, we must not injure in return, as the many believe we should, for we must injure no one.
Clearly not.
And what of doing evil in return for evil, which is the morality of the many? Is that just or not?
Not just.
For doing evil to another is the same as injuring him.
Very true.
Then we ought not retaliate or render evil for evil to anyone, no matter what evil we have suffered. But I wonder if you really believe this, Credo, because the many believe retaliation is acceptable and often good.
I definitely agree with you, Socrates.
Very well. My next point, then. Ought a person do what he believes is right, or ought he betray what he believes is right?
He ought to do what he believes is right.
Then consider that I'm about to escape, and the government comes to me and asks, tell us, Socrates, do you think the state can subsist and not be overthrown when the laws have no power but are trampled upon by individuals? Suppose I say, Credo, yes, but the state has injured me and given me an unjust sentence.
I'm listening.
Then the government responds, did we agree to give you a just sentence, or that you should abide by the sentence. Should I show astonishment at this question, the government could add, what justifies you in attempting to destroy us? Did we not bring you into existence? Your mother and father married by our aid and begat you. Have you objections to those of us who regulate marriage? I would tell them no. And they would ask, and have you objections against those of us who regulate the nurture and education of children by which you were trained? Again, I would reply no. Then they may also say, having brought you into the world and nurtured and educated you, and having given you and every other citizen every good we had to give, we also gave the liberty to any citizen who, when he comes of age, decides he does not like it here, may go to another country without interference from us. But if he chooses to stay, he is in an implied contract with us to obey our laws or to persuade us to change them. And if he fails yet decides to remain as a citizen in residence, he must obey our laws. Now you, Socrates, they will say, have more than anyone acknowledged the agreement, for you of all Athenians have been the most consistent residents. One must suppose you love Athens so, for you have never left, except for military service. You never left to visit, nor to explore, nor to see the games. And you begat and raised your children here, which is proof of your satisfaction with the city. Moreover, during your trial, you could have reduced your penalty to banishment. The state which refuses to let you go now would have let you go then, but you claimed you preferred death to exile. You were at that time willing to die. Yet now you have forgotten those sentiments and wish to escape, thus destroying the power of our laws and the security of our government. Tell me, Crito, how would you answer that? Must we not assent?
Yes.
And if I escape and go, for example, to Thebes or Megara, both of which are well governed, then I would be forced into exile, forced to leave behind my property and deprived of my citizenship. I would retreat to a city where the government and all patriotic citizens would cast an evil eye upon me as a subverter of the laws. And this will confirm in the minds of the judges that I am a corrupter of the youth. Will I then flee from well-ordered cities and virtuous people and continue fleeing into the treacherous outlands of barbarism? Would existence be worth having on these terms? The government again would probably tell me, listen, Socrates, to us who have brought you up, think not of life first and justice afterwards, but of justice first, that you may be justified before the princes of this world and the one beyond. So now depart in innocence, a sufferer and not a doer of evil, a victim not of laws, but of man. This, dear Crito, is what I hear murmuring in my ear, as if a pipe I must march to. I now know that anything more which you say will be in vain. Yet speak if you have anything to say.
I have nothing to say, Socrates.
Then leave me, Crito, to fulfill the will of God and follow whither he leads me.
Have you any commands for me, Socrates?
Nothing particular, Crito. Only, as I've always told you, take care of yourself. That is a service you may always render to me. And be of good cheer, and say that you will be bearing my body only.
The jailer has told me the time will soon arrive.
We must do as we're told, Crito. Therefore, let the cup be brought if the poison is prepared. If it is not, let the attendant prepare some.
The cup was brought, and Socrates drank and finished the draught. My own tears were flowing so fast, I covered my face and wept, not for him, but at the thought of having to part from such a dear friend. I looked around and saw even the guards, even he who had dispensed the hemlock, were weeping. Socrates alone was calm.
What is this outcry? I sent away the women mainly to avoid such display. For I have been told that a man should die in peace. So be quiet and have patience.
As the poison grabbed hold of his body, he became weak and lost feeling in his feet, then his legs, and on up. We knew that when the poison reached the heart, that would be the end. He was beginning to grow cold as he spoke his last words.
Credo, I owe a cock to Asclepius. Would you remember to pay the debt?
I had not been able to answer, for in a moment his eyes were still. I closed them and continued to sit beside his body. His sacrifice of a cock to Asclepius, the god of healing, was payment for a comfortable death. Of this I too was thankful, and would honor his debt. As time has passed, I've missed my friend, but his wisdom has remained with me, as well as his outlook on life. He had a way about him of not only revealing our own wisdom, or lack of wisdom, with his questions, but of showing us the way toward joy when only sorrow seems certain. I leave you, then, with a sentiment he imparted to us shortly before his execution.
I say, let a man be of good cheer about his soul, who, having cast away the pleasures and ornaments of the body as alien to him, has sought after the pleasures of knowledge, and has arrayed the soul not in some foreign attire, but in her own proper jewels, temperance and justice and courage and nobility and truth. In these adorned, she is ready to go on her journey to the world beyond when her hour comes.
Socrates, The Final Days, a play for radio, was adapted from the following dialogues by Plato: Euthyphro, the Apology, Crito, and Phaedo. The translation was by Benjamin Jowett. This play was written, produced, and directed by Bill Olson. It starred Mel Jackson as Socrates, Jay Blake as Crito, and Bill Olson as Miletus. The music was by Thomas Morley. My name is Bob Helgamo. For more information about this production or about Iconostar Productions, visit the internet at www.iconostar.com or email the producer at iconostar@yahoo.com. Iconostar is spelled Iconostar. Socrates, The Final Days is copyrighted 1998 and 2005 by William David Sherman Olson.